So when looking at weightlifting, commonly known as Olympic weightlifting, it's still important to understand that weightlifting is a sport and not just a training modality. This is not to say that the snatch and the clean and jerk and their variants shouldn't be taught to athletes in other sports as a training tool. It's just to simply point out that you need to have a specific and a general sports performance mindset when you teach a weightlifter or when you want to be a weightlifter. So the specific performance mindset in weightlifting would deal with, technical cues in the pull. It deals directly with 1 rep maxes and getting ready to compete, because this sport deals with 1 rep maxes, your best snatch and your best clean and jerk. The general performance mindset dictates that you build strength and power in the athletes to allow the athlete to get into optimal positions. So then you can specifically cue them. The low squat is one of these positions that if you're not capable of hitting it, meaning you don't have the strength and the end range capacity, it's going to be hard for me to cue you in hitting it. It's going to be hard for me to connect your pull to your catch. So if one of my lifters has an issue with getting into that low position, I take more of that general sports performance mindset when trying to get that position better. Usually when someone has issues in the bottom position, a lot of people go to the word mobility, and I think mobility is a little bit confusing. I like to think of end range strength and end range capacity. And the reason I use strength and capacity is because those words insinuate periodization and progress and overload. I'm trying to build the neuromuscular pathways and strength to make you less immobile. So in the low squat, 3 things must occur. The spine must remain neutral and rigid. We need a posterior tilt in the scaps, and that goes for the pull in the snatch and the clean and jerk as well. The femurs must abduct or track out towards the toes, and the feet must maintain flat and equal pressure. So using those 3 points of performance, let's look at one of my lifters. So when I started with him, you could see in his clean that his comfortable low position is where his femurs don't track outward, but he's still able to complete the lift because the bottom of a clean is a little bit more forgiving than the snatch. But then if you look at his snatch, you can see how much he struggles to get low. And that's because he's not comfortable dropping with his feet in his catch position, which is a wider base and femurs tracking out. What happens a lot of times with beginner lifters who have really good dorsiflexion is that they avoid tracking the femurs out and having a wider base. Again, they go to where they're comfortable. So in this case, he's comfortable tracking his knees over his toes, but he's not comfortable abducting his femurs or pushing them out over his toes with a slightly wider base. I didn't tell this lifter to buy a copy of Supple Leopard, get a foam roller and a resistance band. I told him to work specifically on the 3 things that I mentioned before. He did back squats, front squats, and overhead squats with those 3 things in mind, and last week he ended up sending me this video. Needless to say, I was absolutely enthralled with his progress. Since I can't directly coach all of you, I have 2 drills that will really help you kind of solidify the connection when you want to perform a lower squat. So the first drill is just so you can feel what it's like to properly eccentrically load or lower into a maximal depth squat while abducting the femurs and maintaining your posture. This is not an excuse to start back, front, or overhead squatting with plates under the feet. The purpose of the plate here is just to have the lifter feel what it's like to maximally flex the knee and hip while maintaining posture and doing so on their own base of support. So this leads into our second drill, which is basically the opposite. So instead of lowering, we're actually only gonna work the concentric or the pushing portion. So the purpose here is that you start at depth. For some of you, you might have to start higher than others, and you can mess with this depth. Once you're seated, open up your knees, find your posture, maintain that posture as you inclinate forward. If you do this properly, you will feel tension in the adductors, hamstrings, and glutes. This directly attacks that weak area in the adductors. Once you're confident with the movement pattern, you can load this movement with a kettlebell. Again, setting up on the target, getting your posture, inclinating, then standing. In the next variation, you attempt to eccentrically load, touch the target, maintain posture, reload, and stand. So after this, you can try taking the target away and build up your bottom position. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you're interested in going to my seminars and you're in the UK, definitely check them out. The first one is a 2-day seminar that's going to be in Milton, Keynes on May 19th and 20th. And I also have my seminar in Dublin with Clarence Kennedy. That's going to be a 1-day seminar. Both of those links are going to be in the description. One last announcement. Introducing the newest addition to my family. This is Looney. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. I'm done.